Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good morning, everyone. So, first was the Bentall procedure, the complexity or involved. We know that replacing of aortic valve, aortic aorta root, and ascending aorta. It requires replacement of coronary arteries, which to be handled with the professionals. So, all cost is involved more. It's not one size fits all. So, precise fit is needed, custom to every patient, and for the there requires a long lead time because the lot of biological tissues are involved for the preparations. So, coming to the regulatory and control issues, it requires validation from the government authority. Actually, mechanical and biological parts are involved. The functionality to be validated by the authority, and it is a precision cut. So, CNC machining and all the things will require complex operations. Coming to the distribution challenges, cold chain logistics needed for biological equipment so that we can save it from degradation. And complex global supply chain means lot of international player would be involved, and it requires also sometimes stockpiling, which may incur the handling cost, and a different cost are there involved. So second problem will be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. I will cover the IV shortage in Indian context. So, there are two columns. First one show the impact on healthcare services, and second one, what are the response measures. The first one is delay in critical care across urban and rural hospitals. The response measure for this, we can rise in domestic production and local pharma firms. The second one is heavy rely on import, worsened shortages. The Central Drug Standard Control Organization expedite approval for local alternatives. And the third one is small public hospital face rational due to lack of alternatives, creative strategic reserves, and improving inventory tracking, stockpiling, and inventory measurement. The next is Manish sir.
Good morning. My topic is scenario analysis, the resilience matrix. Actually, there are many problems when we could not reach to the node. For that, better communication, better coordination is needed. And by adopting digital tools, we can achieve that. So, but for that, for implementing digitalization, we need willingness and spending funds. So we created a matrix here which describe the scenarios like high spending and high commitment. This is the, I think, ideal zone. We want to stay in that zone. But there are some challenges like sustaining the long-term cost, because implementing these need more costs. Like we can meet by adopting the strategy like ROI based metrics to justify investment. Second is high spending, low commitment. The infrastructure need fund, so robust infrastructure and equipment be settled, but due to the lack of human engagement and weak resilience culture, it will not work more efficient. And by these challenges can be overcome by motivate through inclusion, reward, and leadership training. Another is low spending, high commitment, where strength is dedicated staff, strong culture, innovative solution, and challenges are risk, burnout, the limited tool resources, and strategy we can overcome these challenges like pursue low cost grants and public-private partnership. Another is low spending and low commitment. Here challenges are high vulnerability and no culture of resilience. Strategy we can adopt, start with small wins, introduce donor support training program. Thanks.
Well, thank you, team, for taking us so far. We have all the ideas we have discussed last 5 days. We have come across all the possible scenarios in ideal condition. Now it's time to apply. So we have been come across few problems which is already there, and some of our friends also mentioned that turmoil in its nature, it's not a alarming thing. It will come at once, but we have to be ready. Here we tried to tackle one problem in emergency medical services. We have growing frequencies of emergencies in India, such as excess pandemics, accidents, as one of my friends mentioned, rural medical crisis. So in all these conditions, we have one basic thing: ambulance, which is not reaching to time and taking the patient to the facilities. We have all the things at macro level, but it's not working. So due to the poor coordination, delayed time, under-equipped and inaccessible in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So it's because lack of resilience in infrastructure, also high uncertainty in demand during peak periods such as COVID things. So we are coming up with a solution with an app which is available 24/7 with no rejection policy and telemonitoring routing of the patient stability. So the basic idea is, in India we can have the pizza in 30 minutes with no cancellation. Then why not the ambulance? Why we are cancelling? We have already the things, but it's not efficient. We have the control centers. We are calling there and then it's coming from there and going. We learn how can we optimize, how can we model nodes to park the ambulance nearby the demand centers and we get it done. So we put it in our scenario analysis for this, and we tried our response how would be there. So the first scenario would be low uncertainty and low resilience. Suppose routine EMS and limited systems are the characteristics in this. So how we are going to respond it to that? Basic one-click ambulance dispatch and 24/7 call centers. This would be our response. The second scenario is high uncertainty, low resilience. Suppose higher uncertainty, we are not certain about COVID surge, which we have already come across, and resource scarcity would be the low resilience part of that. So struggled earlier with vehicles, crew shortage, which was there, which as a whole we are coming up with lots of personals coming out. Low uncertainty, low resilience would be the stable demand and reliable operations. And the last one is high uncertainty and high resilience. Suppose peak waves coming out, multiple simultaneous emergencies happening. So in that, our response would be to fleet expansion and telehealth support. Some of our friends mentioned very correctly. And dynamic staffing, the same staff who is driving or who is in present there, if he could at least do the basic facilities to stabilize the situation. Thank you. Thanks a lot for listening. Floor is open for the questions now.
Good.
Means, ma'am, we are trying to optimize this. We are trying to bring the reverse logistic concepts also. If we have booked the request, that request must be served. In many a case, when we are calling to hospital in general sense or 108, they are at the control center, they are calling to the nearest hospital, and then from hospital the ambulance is going or coming, or maybe he is rejecting if he is not available. Then he is try to get it from somewhere else. So that once you requested the request, it will not be cancelled. It will be read out. Like in Uber, it's a basic facility. If one driver has cancelled it, it will not get cancelled. The order will not cancel. It will reloop until somebody accept it.
Basically, it's a constant where we have to serve the patient. That be a comment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We from the Christian Medical College from Group B, we would like to take this topic on the supply chain management. I would like to introduce my group, myself, Steffi Evangeline, Judith, Chris Moon, and Alfred. So we'll start with the presentation. So the first one is Bentel procedure, supply chain complexities and challenges. In this, we all understood what is Bentel procedure. To keep it in short, it is a complex cardiac surgery where the aortic valve, the aortic root, and the ascending aorta are replaced. See, we can make out how difficult and how complicated this procedure is. So for this kind of complicated procedure, as a supply chain manager or to a person who is aware about supply chain management, we should be aware that there are some requirements which involves strict quality checks are to be included. Some of those are regulatory and quality issues that which requires FDA and ISO accreditations. And then when we see in distribution challenges, we can see cold chain transport is needed to keep materials at the right temperature. And all of these make healthcare supply chains more fragile and complex. The next one is global IV fluids shortage in Indian context and response. So this happened when there was a global shortage, and it affected not only the patients, it also affected the hospitals as well as the healthcare staff. When speaking in terms of patients, we can see that there were treatment delays, reliance on substitutes, and in hospitals, the hospitals faced procurement cost spikes, and healthcare workers, the operational stress and supply gaps. In India's response, we can see our Indian government acted fast, like local production. The government urged pharma scale up, import easing, that is, they relaxed IV fluid import norms, and then fast track approvals, that is, regulatory bodies coordinated, stockpiling, hospital planned inventories better, like they stocked larger stocks in the hospitals. Next, we'll move on to the SC resilience matrix. We have a scenario summary and strategies. Here, I would like to go with the examples for each quadrants. So the first quadrant, high spending and high commitment. The example that we have taken is a hospital heavily invest in both advanced technology and comprehensive staff training, with leadership actively prioritizing resilience. So in this first quadrant, we can see the strength as there's a strong system, integrated risk strategies, and proactive crisis response. The challenges in this quadrant we can see here is long-term funding sustainability, and the recommended strategies that they can use is, no ma'am, it's the same, I'll just explain. Conduct regular resilience audits and continue staff capacity building initiatives. And in quadrant 2, we have high speed and low commitment. So the example is a clinic acquires state-of-the-art emergency tools but lacks leadership engagement and staff involvement. Here, the strength is access to modern equipment, but the challenge here is poor utilization and lack of coordinated action. The recommended strategy that they can include is strengthen leadership alignment and initiate team engagement programs. And in quadrant 3, that is low spending and high commitment. Here, the example that we have taken is a resource-limited community health center fosters resilience through a strong culture of teamwork and innovation. The strength is highly motivated personnel and adaptive practices. The challenges here are financial limitations restrict broader capabilities. The recommended strategy would be seek external partnership, pursue agent funding, and implement cost-effective technologies. And in the last quadrant, we can see low spending and low commitment. The example is a small medical practice places little emphasis on resilience planning. The strength here is minimal to none, there is no strength, and the challenges is extremely vulnerable to disruptions and crisis. The recommended strategies would be build basic awareness and initiate foundational risk preparedness practices. So, from this matrix, we can say that it helps healthcare leaders understand where they stand and what has to be improved. So, in coming with the last part, that is considering a case study, we have taken this case study which was already taken by Sir, that is about the oxygen shortage during India's second wave of COVID-19. So, we all know that it was a national emergency. The number of patients and many hospitals ran out of oxygen. So, the key problems here included where hospitals didn't have their own oxygen generation plants, and the tankers had to travel long distances, delaying supply. There was poor coordination between the state and central governments. Even importing oxygen faced regulatory delays, and then sadly, this led to patient death, and then black market oxygen sales, and a major loss of public trust. So, this shows us that even life saving resources can run out of supply if the supply chain isn't prepared. This one is about the matrix that we learned. So, this part explains how hospitals, health systems can deal with emergencies in 3 stages, that is, plan, absorb, and recover, and adapt across 4 domains, that is, physically by installing infrastructures, informationally by tracking and forecasting needs, cognitively by training people, and organizationally by working together. We must not only plan and respond, we must also adapt so that we are stronger. And next time, this section talks about different kinds of risk. So, under known and known are the things we expect, like COVID-19, in COVID increasing oxygen needs, and in known unknown, where we know there is risk but we do not know how big is the risk, and in unknown to known, there are ignored warnings, that is risk that were visible but overlooked, and then unknown to unknown, those are surprises like panic or black marketing. For each of these, we need a specific strategies like stockpiling, forecasting, accountability systems, and newer laws. So, in conclusion, the healthcare supply chain is not just about buying and transporting materials, it's about ensuring that critical care reaches the patient on time and safety. From surgeries like dental procedures to national crises like COVID-19, oxygen shortage, we've seen how supply chain planning, investment, and leadership make a huge difference. So, I would like to conclude saying that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and in healthcare, the link is often the supply chain. Thank you.
Dental procedure, what are the characteristics like preoperative, intraoperative, and postoperative, and regulatory and distribution? The characteristics like assessment, technical, and management, where every particular thing like operation is very complex, right? So pre-operation is there is a strategy, and while operation and post-operation also there is some things should be regulated. There are regulatory bodies for that which control that, and there is a distribution system for everything like detailed imaging and material surgery procedures, and monitoring vital signs, and technical graft selection as per how the tissue of the patient is there. As per that we select the graft, and management of anesthesia, risk assessment, and seeing the patient is healthy enough to go through the procedure or not, and other things. And here the cause of shortage of IV fluid in India, there was what are the causes like supply distribution disruptions, overpricing, supply chain vulnerabilities, and procurement and bureaucratic delays increased in demand. These were some of the causes which caused the shortages. And impact of healthcare, like operation stress was there, and professional burnout, and financial strain, and patient care was delayed. Due to that, some of the patient they felt distress on that. how the shortage was handled is local procurement and tendering, contract revisions, helping the supplier to regain their supply chain and all, and judicial use and substitutions and regulatory interventions to make this happen. And as a scenario for the matrix, scenario 1 states about the hospital which is very active in leadership, high investment and high leadership engagement, where there are strength increase in investment and technology and some of other things. And scenario 2 where the clinic with advanced equipment is there, advanced equipment but lack of leadership support. And here is one of the scenario where healthcare centers creative problem and solving competence for low investment, but there is no investment there to be done. And small lack of investment and engagement leads to poor resilience, whereas small practice and small things. This will be covered by Mithun sir.
Good evening all. This is the demand uncertainty matrix, and we have studied this which one? Ayushman Bharat program by the government of India. So here we have this low uncertainty along with the high uncertainty in horizontal way, and in vertical way we have low and high. Means low means stable process where the uncertainty is low, and the high is the means where uncertainty is high and the process is evolving. So in this supply chain, in the low and low functional product and low uncertainty where the process is stable, we categorize this in the as per the criteria. We took it as an utilization growth rate, scenario based premium forecasting method that will be used. And for the low uncertainty and low versus high demand and low uncertainty, we have the supply chain, responsive supply chain things, which under which it comes like medical inflation, annual tariff indication formula. So these are two which are under this low, and that is the that is under low, that is a stable process. And under high, that evolving process, we have high hedging chain, that is updated and robust data protection regulation, design module consent flow work, and state co-financing commitment, formal MOU with and in agile supply chain, we have the continuous fraud evolution, that is the invest in adaptive AI model. Then in the resilience matrix, under insufficient zone, we have map low covered districts, incentivize rural empanelment, role based access, machine learning, fraud flag in real time. And in resilient zone, we have fast track re-employment after disaster, blockchain audit trail, regular white hat penetration tests. And below in the reactive zone, we have community enrollment drives, Ayushman Mitra helplines, staff training on teleclaim protocol and fraud patterns. And in point solution zone, we have publicly named action on fraud, peer learning across state, embedded PMJY KPI in the state scorecard, update drive dynamically. Thank you.
So good morning everyone. So we group 4 students of hospital management studies from CMC. So I'm Rajaguri. So now I'll be explaining about this Bentel procedure. So Bentel procedure, so just I'll give you the glimpse of what is Bentel procedure, which sir has discussed with us on class 1. So Bentel procedure is a complex open heart surgery used to treat this aortic, that aortic root diseases. So it is a procedure used to replace the aortic damaged aortic roots valves with the composite graft. And so the person who undergoes this surgery, their damaged valve will be replaced with this mechanical valves. Now let's see the supply chain complexities and challenges. So complexities of this procedure. So first, surgical complexity. In terms of surgical complexity, it involves multiple critical structures in heart, like roots, valves, and arteries. So these are very long and so high risk of complexities and risk of this open heart surgery. And in terms of patient specific risk, so it often performed on the genetic disorder patients and connective tissue issues. Then need for bypass, so it requires a cardiopulmonary bypass surgery, which adds these technical challenges and risk of complications. Then bleeding control, so it is a major challenge, like where it is because of this manipulation of a large vessel and synthetic grafts. Then post-operative monitoring, because the person who's undergoing this surgery, they're supposed to be put inside the ICU, and it requires long-term follow-ups. And team coordination, so it requires a multidisciplinary team. It involves like anesthetist, surgeon, and intensivist. Then regulatory and quality control issues, so implant devices. So all of these devices, these grafts, all must get approval from this FDA, Food and Drug Administration, if it is imported from US, and it should get approval from this Central Drug Standard Control Organization, and also that should meet ISO quality standards. So for this cardiopulmonary devices. And sterilization and handling, it is a very vital part in the supply chain, because there should be a quality control must be in manufacturing, packing and storaging, and then surgical handling. So packaging and storing, definitely it's an important role, because this surgery will be placed by using this thing, that is valve. So that valve should be manufactured in appropriate place. In like that manufacturing place should meet this ISO quality standards in order to avoid these complications. And also while the goods are in transit, they should ensure that all the goods are like temperature controlled storage, that should be maintained in the appropriate temperature which has been prescribed by the that should be maintained in this temperature. So because minor temperature deviation can lead to the spoilage and failure of these grafts. So that is an important thing here. And procurement compliance, that hospital must track this trace and expiration. They should have the documentation for audit and transparency. Then clinical trials and reporting, whatever devices has been used for this procedure must pass through this clinical safety validation and this like adverse events mechanism reporting. And then surgeon credentialing, the experienced staff and the professional should take this should do this procedure under clinical guidelines. Then distribution challenges, cold chain requirements, not for everything, but for the things like biological valves that needs an temperature controlled storage. So then import dependence, we are just depending for this item in such states. So it leads to this due to the supply chain disruptions and customs delays. Then limited suppliers. This is high-end devices with globally specialized supply, with limited globally specialized suppliers. So then stockouts and lead time. Stockouts and lead time, because if the proper inventory is not maintained for this thing, this lead time maybe take a week. So it will directly affect the procedure, surgical process. So next part will be taken by our teammate Sally Jane. Thank you.
Good morning, sirs and ma'am. So I'll be taking on the next part. IV shortages played out in an Indian context and how they were handled. So based on this short case, I've taken on a global healthcare company, Baxter International, which is one of the key players in the Indian intravenous IV solutions market. So this company provides critical IV fluids, parenteral nutrition and infusion systems across India. So how this shortage played out in India in an Indian context, we will see causes of IV shortage in an Indian context. If you see, the first one is natural disasters and pandemics. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, demand for IV fluids, it has skyrocketed for treating the dehydrated and the critical patients, particularly in the ICUs where the patients were affected a lot. And the next cause is manufacturing disruptions. So if you see in this, the lockdowns which occurred across India, they caused temporary shutdowns of manufacturing units. So Baxter India, which is being dependent on both the local and imported inputs, they experienced a lot of supply constraints due to the restrictions on logistics and regarding the movement. The next cause is the supply chain vulnerabilities, where critical raw materials like dextrose, saline and plastic packaging, the company had faced a lot of crisis during this period of time, where the ports and trucking delays were caused a lot of bottlenecks during this period, which increased a demand in the IV supplies. The next is the increased demand. So the massive COVID surges, what happened, especially during the second wave in the year of 2021, it had resulted in a spike in the demand for a lot of IV fluids. The next cause is the regulatory challenges. While India had some of the norms to fast-track essential supplies, state-wise regulatory differences were also there, where a lack of central coordination created a lot of surges in the approval and procurement of IV fluids. And how it has impacted in India, the first, if you see, it has impacted in patient care. Hospitals which are present especially in the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, they had to substitute or they had to ration IV fluids, delaying treatments, which caused a lot of errors. The next is on healthcare costs. The prices for the IV fluids surged in private hospitals due to the limited supply and due to black market activity. The next impact is on the healthcare professionals, where the nurses and doctors reported increased stress in managing the fluid supplies, and they had to make a very tough decision on depending on the available stock and how to allocate it. The next, how the IV shortages were handled by using an Indian strategy. This is done in Indian context by using Baxter India and Indian strategy. The first one is diversification of manufacturing. So Baxter India worked with local contract manufacturers in order to expand the production rapidly. So there were a lot of facilities in Maharashtra and Gujarat which increased its output. The next is on emergency approvals and government interventions. The Indian government allowed emergency imports and provided production incentives to the pharma companies which produced IV solutions under the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, PLI scheme. The next is a stockpiling by hospitals. So large chains like Apollo and Fortis began preemptive stockpiling of essential IV fluids, and they started creating buffer inventories. The next is logistics partnerships. So in order to encounter logistics issues, Baxter partnered with third-party logistics which provided for cold chain management. And even in technological integration, there were a lot of inventory tracking systems and real-time dashboards which were introduced by some hospitals and suppliers in order to prevent outstocking or shortages. So in order to conclude, India's IV shortage was mirrored by the global situation but was aggravated by this pandemic disruption. So companies like Baxter India Private Limited played a very pivotal role in managing supply through these local partnerships, government collaboration and operational flexibility. With this, I will hand it over to the next presenter, Ms. Jennifer Catherine.
So, good morning, everyone. Moving on to the quadrants of a resilience matrix. The first one is high spending and high commitment, where the facilities coming under this quadrants will be the best prepared for the crisis and the disruptions, and also they will be able to recover quickly. And the challenges include high spending, and there are sustainability concerns where organizations may not be able to spend this much amount for long term. And for improvement strategies, organizations can maintain balance in the spending and outcomes, and they can monitor return on investment so that they can control the profit and loss. Also, they should continue to engage staff in all the activities. Moving on to the next quadrant, high spending and low commitment. In this quadrant, the resources are underutilized due to a shortage of staff involvement, and this is and it is a fragile, the resilience here is fragile, and the challenges are poor culture and lack of motivation among staff. Improvements will be building leadership and commitment, and also engage staff in the planning activities. The next quadrant will be low spending and high commitment. This one is a creative and flexible scenario, and The challenges are resource constraints and burnout risk among staff due to overworks, and the facilities coming under these quadrants can seek external funding to strengthen low cost and preparedness, low spending and low commitment. These are the highly vulnerable facilities, and they are not prepared for any crisis or disruptions. Improvements will be they can conduct awareness campaigns and basic training for staff. Over to Ms. Shweta Rani. So the last one is the case study. So oxygen shortage during the COVID-19 in India, we have taken that. So already it's been taken by the previous participant. So I will talk about in a brief, because already we are running out of time. So what challenges we faced at that time was infrastructure, governance, supply chain communication and workforce. This all challenges was faced because actually we were not prepared, and nothing was known that something is going to come like this and how to tackle all these problems. So we had no oxygen, like enough oxygen. That too, the government has no regulation regarding all these things, and the communication, it was already it was broken because of the lockdown and all, and the workforce also, because of the like people were panicking about it. So how to overcome these challenges, like deploy oxygen concentration and portable oxygen cylinders to smaller centers. So if to a smaller centers the oxygen cylinder will be there, it will be easy to transport to the hospital as well. Then real-time tracking for oxygen supply and demand. So we can know that if the real-time tracking is there, so if the demand is nearby, we can just supply it to that place. Establish a national emergency oxygen reserve system. So it's very important, because that time oxygen was the thing which was in deficit. So if already it would have been reserved, that the thing during the pandemic, it could have been managed better. Then train frontline workers in oxygen uses, conservation and safety protocols. So not only the doctors and nurses, but to other people also, we should focus on everyone. And then strengthen public-private partnership for logistics and supply chain support. So this is the main point, where if some private organization where they have abundance in the, like oxygen is in abundance, then we can also try to connect with the public sector so that they can share between them, and the shortage can be overcome. So this was my part, and thank you so much.
I'm presenting the old Vishali. Good morning, everyone. We are Group E. Amuda, Tamilsri, Vishali and Jansi. And coming to Bentel procedures, based on the complexities, we have mentioned that cold chain logistics is essential for biological components, and it requires, patient requires lifelong anticoagulant and monitoring post-operative events. And in case of emergency cases, demand rapid and coordinated supply response. In terms of regulatory and quality control issues, sterilization standards is important in both mechanical and biological components. Batch testing and traceability, in which each device must meet performance and safety benchmarks. At last, distribution challenges we might see in the given scenario. The equipment has been coming from Japan, US and all other places. So cross-border approvals can slow shipment, and custom component availability in terms of patient-specific graft sizes can delay the delivery. In second question, global shortage of IV solution, we directly jumped into the solution. So DCGI, Drug Controller General of India, fast-tracked approval to boost the domestic manufacturing. Second thing is government issued emergency tenders and pooled inventory across the hospitals. Hospitals use substitution protocols to reduce reliance on IV fluid, such as oral hydrating solution, for example. The last thing is NPPA controlled prices, that is nothing but National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. It helped in controlling the prices of the IV sets during the crisis and cracked down on hoarding. A third scenario, resilience matrix, they have given 4 scenarios. In first scenarios, we can see spending and high commitment. The hospital spends high cost in buying the advanced equipment, and also has high commitment of staffs, in which the strength can be strongest position and well prepared and fast recovery. The strategies to improvement may be like maintaining investment, like return on investment, and monitoring their outcome. Second thing is the clinic spends high amount in investing in equipment, and the staffs are in low commitment. So in this, the weakness could be the wasted resources. Even though good tools are available, poor execution is there. In terms of improvement, leadership and staff engagement is advised. In third scenario, low spending and high commitment, there are high creativity people available, and strong culture is there, but limited by funds. So the hospital or the clinic might seek for external support and innovate smartly. The fourth quadrant is low spending and low commitment, where the weakness is most vulnerable and they are unprepared and disengaged. For improvement, they can start up with small steps to build awareness and buy-in, and also ask for funds. So we took a scenario which happened in Chennai, Rajiv Gandhi Government General Hospital. This incident happened in 2022 in a cardiology department, wherein there was an electrical short circuit which caused fire incident, and more than 30 plus ICU patients were evacuated, and thank God there were no casualties. This exposed a poor fire safety infrastructure in older hospital blocks, so outdated extinguishers and no sprinkler systems. This highlighted a lack of fire safety audits and preparedness being in that hospital. So in terms of resilience matrix, this can be placed in quadrant 4, low spending and low commitment. In terms of uncertainty matrix, moderate predictability and high impact, which is electrical fires are preventable, but timing is unpredictable. So strategies for recommendation would be upgrade of fire safety system, institutionalize fire drills and staff training, that is nothing but the mock drills, and they can include fire safety in NABH and state audit framework. Advice would be they should shift to quadrant 1, high spending and high commitment, and building a safety first culture in hospital design and operation to prevent such kind of incidents. Thank you.
My name is Paul Christopher, and this is my team, Shivaranjani, Pinmadi and Savita. Okay. Yeah. Same stuff. Complexity of dental procedure. The basic complexity of dental procedure is it's a critical procedure, basically called open heart surgery. And what is it complex is the replacement of aortic artery with a artificial valve, as we all know, artificial graft. What is it in the complexity is the coordination of a surgeon, technician and overall in the procedure. Like I'm thinking about it, I certainly remind of something. Recently, the administrator I know shared with me, like there is a procedure, there is a surgery I've done. Like they have to do it a supine position, they are doing it a prone position, knee surgery, knee replacement surgery, or something in knee. So they have a SOP, like if there is a marked as yes, marked as X, they have to operate in that leg. But when we put it opposite of the patient side, face looks downwards, the right leg become left leg and left leg become right leg, then they operated it. So that's a problem. Don't argue with me, we have only 1 hour. Okay, thank you. Quality issues or FDA. We have to have FDA clearance not for the procedure but for the material we are using in the procedure. Okay, and CE is a consortium European marking to distribute among in the European region. And as we know, ISO, International Organization for Standards. Then these are the distribution challenges. They have to make the products, it takes months to create it, and the suppliers also globally, there are minimum suppliers to create it, and each patient consists of different size of aortic artery. So they have to customize to the size of the patient. Okay, they have to customize to the patient size of the patient. That's it. Okay, then it's global IV solution shortage. It's happened in COVID, and what in it is they can in India they are use these strategies to maintain and prevent it. That general stockpiles, they are used as general stockpiles to maintain it, and also they search for alternate source and domestic and pharmaceutical help to substitute the supplies. Then they implemented just-in-time procedure. As we all speak about it many times in this workshop, just-in-time they implemented. Then this is the quadrants. We have that sheet in case experiment. As we gone through it, this is the quadrants. High spending, high commitment organization. They usually have spent in technology and in people. So they have prepared for a bad situation, and they have actively engaged in leadership and into the organization objectives. What are all the missions and things the organization do? So they are strong and resilient and quick response to during crisis. And the strategy to improve is monitoring ROI, return on investment, and prioritize stabilization investment, and high spending and low commitment. These organizations are poor in utilizing staff, and staff disengagement or more, and waste of resource. They are wasting so much resource and delay crisis response. They are like they react, but the reaction time is so low, and this is happening because of improper communication and involve staff in planning. It doesn't involve staff in planning, and lack of workshops and lack of training to the staff, and low spending and high commitment. This organization, like, they are spending slow in their investment, but they are highly committed towards the organization. Like most of the mission hospital we can take, people who are so committed to the organization, but they doesn't have the money to do certain things or certain procedures. So they seek donation or something from other organization to maintain it. Lastly, low spending and low committed organizations, they are like they are doing small practice investment. Nothing is resilient or culture. The weakness of it is minimal cost and high vulnerable. They are high vulnerable and total collapse in crisis. In case of there is a crisis, they are the one prone to problem, because they don't have the money to invest. They don't have the people those are committed to it. Okay, then basically the strategy to improve this quadrant is basically basic resilience training, create low cost response plan, and start culture shift from leadership. Okay, and this is a case study we guys are taken. The scenario is a government hospital in Maharashtra has discarded thousands of vaccine doses in 2022 due to expiry. No system to rotate or redistribute the stock. Why it happened means because of lack of digital tracking of inventory and poor forecasting of demand. What are all the demand, or how many things we want, how many vials we want, or how many things we can distribute to others. And these are all the strategies and tool we are come as a team. This if they done it, or else if some can do it, they can prevent the situation. First in, first out. What all the stocks comes first, they have to dispatch that first. If we have two batches, one from the June, one from the September, means they have to finish the June batch, then they have to go to the September batch to finish it. As well as it's same like first expiry and first out. Reordering point, like they are setting a minimum level for it. If they attain that level, they are reordering it. Then the stock is filled again. When they attain the minimum point, they are reordering it. Instead of ordering and the stockpile is overflow, they are attain that level when at that time only they are reordering. Periodic review means they are taking review like 3 months once, 6 months once, and 1 year once. And digital inventory system means they are entering in a computer based system and checking periodically. And the digital inventory system and physical and computer stock checking are integrated. Like we are physically manually check the stocks, and we are compare that stocks to computer stock list. Regular, it's simply called regular audits. And redistribution and donation. If you have more vaccines or more things in your hospital, they can rotate the vaccines to needy one. Those who want it, or those organizations, they can donate it or give to them. They can use it. And as we say, demand forecasting. We can forecast the demand, how much we want, how much we need. Like there is a formula called EOQ, economic order quantity, right? We can use that formula to predict how many things we need, how many files or how many order quantity we need. That wise we can order it. And the matrix we come up with like point solution zone. Like the organization commitment also low, organization investment also low. That's why they are end up in this quadrant. And the final is uncertainty quadrant. We are put it in risk hedging supply chain, because the supply is high but the demand is low. I not sure about this. Okay, thank you.
Myself T. Karthikeyan, my group Teacher and Pritham Chaudhary. First one, pental procedure means types of cardiac surgery. First of three things. First one, complexities of pental procedure. The technical surgical component. First one, composite graft replacement of aortic valve and the aortic root and ascending aorta, and re-inflammation of coronary arteries into the graft. Highly specialized skill needed for handling both mechanical and biological valves as well as synthetic grafts. And the customization needs. Graft sizing must be patient specific, with graft typically being 3 mm larger than aorta. The emergency scenarios. Need for rapid access conduits during acute aortic dissection. The required in urgent coordination of supply chain. The regulatory and quality control issues. The mandatory approvals, FDA, Food, Drugs and Administration, and CE marking for valve prosthesis and grafts. The example of Connacht Russia Conduit 2020. The ISO 10,993 compliance for sterility, biocompatibility and safety of materials. The quality challenges, biological valve risk of tissue degradation. The required in glutaraldehyde and fixation and rigorous sterilization. The mechanical valves, precision waste of precision machining. The CNC's quality numerical control of biologic and carbon and titanium alloys is essential of prevent failure. The third one thing, distribution challenges. The cold chain management is very important, and biological components require temperature control logistics to avoid degradation. The supplier fragmentation. Components are sourced from various global suppliers. And the emergency logistics, acute aortic dissection necessity and rapid delivery of conduits with strange inventory buffers. The second one is intravenous shortage in India. The causes of shortages in India: manufacturing disruption. The closure of Hindustan Antibiotic and Indian Drugs and Pharmaceutical Limited due to financial crisis has reduced domestic intravenous production capacity. The supply chain vulnerability. There is an 80% reliance on imported raw materials and from China and Puerto Rico. And the hurricanes and COVID-19 lockdowns have disrupted shipments. The second one is impact on healthcare. The patient care hospitals in Delhi and Mumbai rationed IV fluid 2021 to 2022, delaying surgeries and chemotherapy. The substituting with oral dehydration or subcutaneous and fluid has increased degradation risk. The healthcare workers, nurses prepared saline solution manually, which increased workload and risk of error. The mitigation strategies, government intervention, emergency import, and fast-tracked approvals for IV fluids from South Korea and Singapore. The domestic boost subsidies for companies like Baxter India and Auckland Parenterals to expand production. The hospital adoption stockpiling major chain. Build 3 months IV fluid research. The alternate delivery implemented IV free protocols for stable patients. The scenario 1, high spending and high commitment. Hospitals invest in technology or staff training, leadership champions, and resilience. The implication of high resilience to disruption. The rapid crisis response and minimized patient care interruption. The challenge is sustaining high investment costs long term, risk of over-reliance on technology. The strategy is cost-sharing, partner with other hospitals for bulk procurement or training. The continuous drill, simultaneous crisis, example, IV fluid shortages to test system. The second scenario, high spending and low commitment. The cleaning by emergency equipment, lack leadership or staff engagement. And the implication, wasted resources, equipment unused due to poor training. The fragmented response during crisis. The challenge is low staff morale and the equipment neglect and leadership disconnect from ground reality. And the strategies, leadership workshop, train managers on resilience benefit. Incentive staff rewards teams for emergency and preparedness and drills. The scenario 3, low spending and high commitment. The health centers uses creativity, staff dedication, limited funds. Implication, strong teamwork enables improvement and solution. The reusing centralized supplies. The vulnerable to large-scale disruption, example pandemic. The challenges, burnout from staff overwork, inability to address systematic gaps, example broken cold chains. The strategies, low-cost technology use, mobile apps for inventory tracking and community partnership, collaborate with NGOs for resource pooling. The scenario 4, the low spending and low commitment. Small practice ignores resilience investment or culture. The implication, critical failures during crisis, example patient harm during IV shortages, high closure risk post disruption. The challenge is no awareness of resilience importance. The resilience resource constraint limit proactive steps. And then strategies, regulatory mandates tie licensure to basic resilience plan and micro grants, government funding for essential backups, example generator. The key takeaways, optimal quadrant, scenario 1, high spending plus high commitment is most expensive and costly. The most adaptable scenario 3, low spending and high commitment, leverages human capital effectively. The critical shift, move from quadrant 4 to 3 and required in 1 by building a culture of resilience before scaling investment. The uncertainty,
the uncertainty matrix and the resilience matrix, we understood that it is dependent on the context where we are doing this analysis, the region, the time period, and the other factors that can affect both these matrices. We focused on one hospital setting in this matrix where we talked about issues specific to a cancer hospital. For example, we have this vaccination like human papilloma virus for carcinoma cervix, which is a preventive strategy. Now it is a low demand uncertainty and low supply uncertainty in the current context. So that was one example. Then we had this low demand uncertainty and high supply uncertainty, where we have this make in India requirement these days when we have to make purchases for machinery and equipment. So that is something that there is low demand uncertainty but high supply uncertainty. Then again, radiotherapy treatments require high-end equipment like linear accelerators. Again, there is a high supply uncertainty, especially in the context of Make in India. Then blood products. Similarly, high demand uncertainty and low supply uncertainty for specialized equipment like CT MRI, especially for trauma in different areas. Then high demand uncertainty, high supply uncertainty, we focused on lab investigations like biomarkers for diseases like cancer. Then we also have these things like next generation sequencing, where both supply as well as demand is uncertain in the current context. some of these things got missed in the in this table. Then this one you right. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, good morning all. I'm Rachel and this is Sanjana. And I just wanted to emphasize Bentel procedure as the Rolls Royce of healthcare cardiac surgery. In cardiac surgery, due to its complexity, high skilled workers involved, and also the controlled environment they have, and also the sourcing of materials.
So most of my colleagues here have covered IV solution shortages in India, but they have primarily focused on COVID. I would also like to highlight that as a country, we faced minor shortages during viral outbreaks and also major shortages during dengue fever season. So India's response is active, has been active, but there is no difference between the response in these three scenarios. So I think what we need to focus on is future resilience needs anticipatory planning, that is using demand forecasting, agile procurement, tech-enabled tracking, that is real-time tracking was only enabled after the shortages were encountered. So from now on, if we can do real-time tracking before the shortages come, I feel as a nation we'll be able to easily respond to such crises. So I'll briefly explore the resilience matrix. So I'll start with low spending and low commitment. Such systems are very fragile, easily crumble under pressure, and the recovery from this is also much longer. So what they need is a foundational emergency protocol, and they need to incentivize smaller wins so there is encouragement towards bigger resilience building in the future. Next, we'll go on to low spending and high commitment. This is where most of the rural mission hospitals and PHCs are because of lack of funding. So usually there is a lot of creative problem solving among the staff and the system, and this must be encouraged, and innovation should also be encouraged. And in terms of resource collection, they can partner up with volunteer organizations, academic institutions, and NGOs. High spending and low commitment systems where there is a lot of manpower and resources available, but it's often underutilized. We can say this could be because of weaker leadership or staff engagement. So this can be promoted by encouraging staff to take up more in-charge roles and leadership roles, and involve staff in protocol building so they feel like they're part of the bigger system and not just working to get paid. And in the last, we come to the ideal zone where there is high spending and high commitment towards resilience. In this zone, although it is ideal, these systems need to keep in mind that sustaining in this ideal zone also needs constant efforts so that they don't fall back into any other zones. So how they can do that is by motivating the staff and adapting the staff towards different challenges that come across. So this can be done by regular resilience audits, crisis simulation situations, and stress tests to identify gaps and focus on future growth.
To talk about the real-time scenario where we have to address the problem, where in Indian context, we have taken the PHC diagnostic kit shortages where there are inadequate diagnostic HIV or malaria kits in primary health centers across the nation. So it is due to the procurement, slow procurement, delayed transport, and also supplier unreliability, especially in rural and tribal areas. So this particular problem falls under the reactive zone in the matrix of resilience matrix. So where the low spending is a problem and also the low organizational commitment is also a problem. So what we can do is we can have a digital inventory tracking at PHC level, and also we can have a vendor managed inventory, and also we can have different hubs that can give out the decentralized procurement, and also during the outbreaks we can also have this mobile diagnostic units that are easily they'll be easily able to come to the PHCs on time to give up the kits, and also we can have this buffer stock in place where we can take the buffer stocks from the district level or the community level health centers to primary health centers. So this, when we talk about the uncertainty matrix, this falls under the risk hedging supply chain, where the supply is high and the demand is low. So we can talk about sharing the resources as we talked in the resilient matrix already. And also we can have real-time information. So shared inventory, at last what we are trying to say is shared inventory and also mobile diagnostic units at different hubs can reduce the stockouts. That's the main thing. And also we can pre-position the kits ahead of time, and also train the frontline workers to think about the expiry management and also kit rotation. That's all. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.